I know this is going to upset some football fans, because when people talk about the greatest World Cup ever, they usually mention 1970, 1986, 1998, 2002, or 2014. But the more I think about it, the more convinced I become that Qatar 2022 might actually be the greatest World Cup we've ever seen. And honestly, I don't think it's even close. Think about where we were before a single ball was even kicked. Let's be completely real here. The build-up to this tournament was filled with absolute skepticism. We had massive controversy surrounding the host nation, intense political debates, and endless media backlash. On top of that, we were getting a World Cup in November and December. A Winter World Cup right in the middle of the European club season. Fans were furious. Experts were predicting tired players, zero atmosphere, and a broken tournament. It felt like football was losing its soul for a paycheck, and everyone entered the tournament with incredibly low expectations. People were genuinely wondering if this would be the first World Cup in history that felt completely soulless. But then, the football actually started. And what followed was a month of absolute, unadulterated madness that shattered every single expectation we had. It all started on the very first Tuesday of the tournament. Argentina, one of the heavy favorites, riding a historic 36-match unbeaten streak, walked into Lusail Stadium to play Saudi Arabia. Everyone expected a comfortable 3 or 4-0 win for Lionel Messi and company. And when Messi scored an early penalty, it looked like business as usual. But what happened in the second half defied all logic. 2 quick-fire goals from Saudi Arabia, a masterclass in tactical discipline, and a defensive wall that refused to break. When the final whistle blew, Saudi Arabia had defeated Argentina 2-1. It wasn't just a shock, it was statistically one of the biggest upsets in the entire history of the World Cup. But that was only the beginning. That single result blew the entire tournament wide open. It sent a shockwave through the football world and immediately shattered the idea that the big nations could just cruise through. Suddenly, the 2022 World Cup felt completely unpredictable. It set a chaotic, high-stakes tone where nobody was safe. And from that moment on, the tournament became an absolute roller coaster of constant drama. Has any World Cup ever delivered more drama in the group stages alone? Think about Germany going out in the group stage for the second time in a row, dumped out after a chaotic final night where Japan topped a group containing 2 European giants. Think about Belgium's golden generation crumbling before our eyes. We saw late goals, miraculous comebacks, and emotional roller coasters that left fans crying in the stands and in their living rooms. It felt like every single match day had a narrative twist that a Hollywood writer would reject for being too unrealistic. Now here's what makes this tournament special. It wasn't just about the Giants faltering. It was about the rise of the ultimate underdogs. Enter Morocco. Nobody, absolutely nobody, predicted what they were about to do. They didn't just survive their group, they topped it. And then they embarked on one of the greatest underdog stories the sporting world has ever witnessed. In the round of 16, they came up against Spain. They defended like their lives depended on it, took them to penalties, and Yassine Bounou became a national hero, while Achraf Hakimi ended it with the coldest Panenka you will ever see. And somehow, it got even crazier. In the quarterfinals, they faced Cristiano Ronaldo's Portugal. A towering header from Youssef En-Nesyri sent them through, making Morocco the first African nation in history to reach a World Cup semifinal. They weren't just winning football matches, they were inspiring millions of people across Africa, the Arab world, and the entire globe. The sheer emotion of their fans, the players celebrating on the pitch with their mothers, the absolute unity they showed. It was beautiful. And it proved that the World Cup still belongs to the dreamers. But while Morocco was inspiring the world, Argentina was living through a literal movie. After that opening defeat to Saudi Arabia, every single game for Argentina was a final. The pressure on Lionel Messi's shoulders was genuinely suffocating. This was his last dance, his final chance to capture the one trophy that had eluded him, the one trophy he needed to finally step out of the eternal shadow of Diego Maradona. Against Mexico in the second group game, it was 0-0 at halftime, and Argentina looked paralyzed by fear. Then, Messi picked up the ball outside the box and drilled a low shot into the bottom corner. The release of pure emotion from the players and the fans was staggering. They survived Mexico, they beat Poland, and they moved into the knockouts. Against Australia in the round of 16, it looked comfortable until a late deflected goal turned the final 10 minutes into a stressful survival horror game. Then came the quarterfinal against the Netherlands. At this point, it felt scripted. Argentina was leading 2-0 with just 10 minutes to go. The game looked dead. But Louis van Gaal threw on the big men, started pumping long balls into the box, and Wout Weghorst scored a late header. Then, in the 11th minute of stoppage time, with the last kick of the game, the Dutch executed a genius, cheeky free kick routine to equalize. 2-2. Absolute pandemonium. The match descended into pure chaos, with massive brawls, bad blood, and incredible tension. It went to penalties. Emiliano Martinez came up huge, and Argentina advanced after one of the toxic, thrilling, and dramatic matches in World Cup history. By the time they swept past Croatia in the semifinals, it felt like Argentina had been through a literal war just to get to the final. But the best was still to come, because waiting for them in the final was France, led by a man who was ready to claim the throne for himself. Kylian Mbappe. If Messi was the narrative heart of this tournament, Mbappe was its explosive force. Throughout the tournament, Mbappe was simply unplayable. He was tearing defenses apart with terrifying speed and clinical finishing. He wasn't just playing well, he was elevating the entire tournament every time he touched the ball. The stage was set for the ultimate showdown, the master versus the apprentice, the past versus the future. Paris Saint-Germain teammates fighting for the ultimate glory on the grandest stage of them all. How do you top that final? Seriously, how do you even begin to describe what happened on December 18th, 2022? For 70 minutes, it looked like a blowout. Argentina was completely dominating. Messi scored a penalty, Angel Di Maria scored a breathtaking team goal, and France looked utterly lifeless. They hadn't even registered a shot on target. Argentinian fans were celebrating in the stands. The game felt over. But then, in the span of 90 seconds, Kylian Mbappe decided to rewrite history. A penalty out of nowhere made it 2-1. And just moments later, a stunning, acrobatic volley from Mbappe flew past Martinez to make it 2-2. It was a sporting heart attack. The entire world was watching in absolute disbelief. The game went to extra time, and the drama somehow multiplied. In the 108th minute, Messi bundled the ball over the line to make it 3-2 for Argentina. It felt like the definitive fairy tale ending. Surely that was it. But France refused to die. In the 118th minute, a handball gave France another penalty. Mbappe stepped up, cool as ice, and scored to complete a hat trick in a World Cup final. 3-3. And right at the death, in the 123rd minute, Randal Kolo Muani found himself one-on-one with Emiliano Martinez. The entire world held its breath. It was the moment that would decide the fate of football history. Martinez stretched out his left leg and made what is arguably the greatest, most important save in the history of the sport. Minutes later, it went to a penalty shootout. Gonzalo Montiel scored the winning penalty, and Lionel Messi fell to his knees in the center circle. Let's look at this objectively. Can a tournament realistically have a better storyline than that? Can a football match ever top the emotional peaks and valleys of that final? To understand why 2022 might be the greatest, we have to look at the competition. Let's treat the other legendary tournaments with the respect they deserve. Take 1970, the tournament of Pelé's beautiful Brazil, the first World Cup broadcast in color, a celebration of pure attacking football. It was iconic, but it lacked the modern parity and competitive tension where any underdog could shock a giant. Take 1986, the tournament completely defined by the individual genius of Diego Maradona. It gave us the hand of God and the goal of the century, but as a collective tournament from start to finish, did it have the consistent drama in every single group? 1998 had an incredible cultural impact and a star-studded French victory. But the final itself was a bit anticlimactic due to the mystery surrounding Ronaldo's fitness. 2002 gave us unforgettable upsets and redemption for Ronaldo Nazario, but the quality of the knockout matches was heavily criticized. 2010 had an incredible atmosphere, and the tiki-taka masterclass of Spain, but it was historically low scoring. And 2014 was fantastic, featuring Germany's 7-1 demolition of Brazil. But the final ended up being a tense, cagey 1-0 affair decided in extra time. When you look at 2022 across all criteria, it ticks every single box perfectly. Storylines? It had the ultimate redemption arc for the greatest player of all time. Drama? It had a final that is universally considered the greatest game ever played. Upsets? Saudi Arabia over Argentina, Japan over Germany and Spain, Morocco over Spain and Portugal, Croatia knocking out a star-studded Brazil. Star performances? We watched Messi and Mbappe go toe-to-toe at the absolute peak of their powers, scoring 11 goals combined in the tournament and 5 in the final alone. Underdog runs? Morocco made history and captured the hearts of billions. The central argument is simple. The 2022 World Cup delivered almost every single storyline football fans could possibly want in a single tournament, and it delivered them at the absolute highest level of quality. It had the controversy, the redemption, the heartbreak, the emergence of future superstars, and the ultimate coronation of a legend. Future World Cups will undoubtedly be bigger. They will have 48 teams, they will be hosted across entire continents, they will break stadium attendance records, and they will generate billions more in revenue. But they will honestly struggle to ever recreate the sheer, concentrated magic that made the 2022 World Cup an unforgettable masterpiece. It gave us everything we love about football, and it did it when we least expected it. So I have to ask you, after everything we witnessed, is there any real doubt left? Or was Qatar 2022 definitively the greatest World Cup in the history of football? Let me know in the comments below.